What's going on, baseball fans? How are we doing? So in this classic team rewind, I'm going to talk about the 2019 Washington Nationals in under 10 minutes. Let's go talk about it. To really know how the 2019 Nationals came together, we have to go all the way back to 2005. The Nationals were actually once the Montreal Expos, but after failing to secure a new ballpark in Montreal, they moved to Washington, D.C. to become the Washington Nationals. From 2005 to 2011, they didn't once finish above 500, with their highest win total coming in at 81 in 2005, the first year with the new name. Despite not having any winning seasons during this stretch, they made some key draft picks. The first being Ryan Zimmerman, who was drafted 4th overall in 2005. The biggest of them all that paid dividends for the 2019 Nationals, however, was Steven Strasburg in 2009, easily the most hyped pitcher of all time coming out of the draft. Another draft pick that would prove to be vital for the Nationals down the road was Anthony Rendon, the 6th pick in the 2011 draft. There was also Michael Taylor, who was drafted in the 6th round of 2009, as well as Austin Voth, who was drafted in the 5th round in 2013. We can't move on from the draft picks without mentioning Bryce Harper, however. After being labeled as the chosen one by Sports Illustrated, he was the number 1 overall pick in the 2010 draft. Despite leaving in free agency for the Phillies before the 2019 season, he brought energy and excitement to the city of Washington, as well as an MVP in 2015. Over 7 seasons with the Nationals, he hit .279 with a .388 on-base percentage and a .512 slugging. There wasn't just the draft, however. There was also international free agency, where the Nationals would make 2 huge signings. The first being Victor Robles in 2013, who received a $225,000 signing bonus, but the biggest of all was Juan Soto in 2015, who received a $1.5 million signing bonus, and he reached the major leagues in 2018 at only the age of 19, and he's become a superstar in the game today at only 23 years old. After 2011, the Nationals finally started to see some success on the field, winning the division 4 times from 2012 to 2017. Led by Rookie of the Year Bryce Harper, Ryan Zimmerman, and Adam LaRoche in the lineup, and a rotation consisting of 21-game winner Gio Gonzalez, Jordan Zimmerman, and Steven Strasburg, the Nationals would go on to win 98 games to win the East, but they would fall to the Cardinals in the first round of the 2012 playoffs. After missing the playoffs in 2013, manager Davey Johnson would go on to retire, opening the door for their new manager, Matt Williams, who was previously the third base coach for the Diamondbacks. Despite winning a National League high 96 games and the division in 2014, the Nationals would once again fall in the first round to the eventual World Series champion San Francisco Giants. In the preceding offseason, the Nationals would go on to make some major moves, the signing of Max Scherzer to a 7-year deal, most notably. There was also a big 3-way trade. The big piece of this trade at the time was Will Myers, who was the Rookie of the Year in 2013, but he was shipped to the Padres after a down 2014. One of the Nationals' top prospects, Steven Souza Jr., would go back to Tampa Bay, and for the Nationals, they would receive Trey Turner, who was the Padres' number 2 prospect at the time. He would go on to become the Nationals' everyday shortstop in 2016 after Ian Desmond departed in free agency. Despite a talented team, the Nationals would only win 83 games in 2015 and miss the playoffs. One highlight of 2015, however, was trading for Jonathan Papelbon from the division rival Phillies, but in the end, instead of the move helping the Nationals reach the playoffs, all we got was Papelbon and Harper getting into a fight in the dugout. After the season, Matt Williams and the entire coaching staff was dismissed after only 2 seasons. After interviewing several candidates, it was reported that the Nationals and Bud Black had reached an agreement, but after contract negotiations broke down, the Nationals would hire runner-up Dusty Baker to be the next manager. Heading into 2016, we saw the Nationals make some more changes. With Yunel Escobar getting traded to the Angels and Anthony Rendon moving to third base, the Nationals would sign Daniel Murphy to play second, who came off a great postseason run with the Mets the year prior. The Nationals would return to their winning ways in 2016, winning 95 games on their way to another division title, but would once again fall in the first round to the LA Dodgers in 5 games. The Nationals would see the same result in 2017, losing in the first round to the defending champion Chicago Cubs in 5 games. Shortly after, the Nationals would call Dusty Baker and tell him they were moving in a different direction. Eventually, they would go on to hire Rays bench coach Dave Martinez to be their new manager. In 2018, while the Nationals wouldn't make the playoffs, they made yet another trade with the Phillies, but this time for Howie Kendrick, in which the Nationals thought he would be a good utility player for them. After the season, they would see the face of the franchise, Bryce Harper, move on to the division rival Phillies. Man, the Phillies and Nationals have so many connections. They didn't go into 2019 empty-handed though, as they signed Patrick Corbin to a 6-year deal, along with signing Brian Dozier. On May 23rd of 2019, the Nationals saw themselves sitting in 4th place in the NL East with a record of 19-31, the second worst record in the National League. Instead of giving in, the Nationals decided to turn it on and would go 74-38 the rest of the way to finish with a record of 93-69 and securing the first wild card. During this time, the Nats did make a few moves. They brought in Asdrubal Cabrera, who was waived by the Rangers but ended up helping them tremendously down the stretch. They also brought in Gerardo Parra, who was a fan favorite, ended up being a good bench piece for them, along with making a trade with the Blue Jays for Daniel Hudson, who was a key arm for them in the bullpen after the trade deadline. Besides the moves the Nationals made to improve the team, they had many memorable moments in 2019, ranging from Max Scherzer pitching with a broken nose and a black eye after a freak accident during a pregame batting practice, Trey Turner hitting for the cycle, hitting 4 straight home runs while also setting a franchise record for home runs in a season, scoring 7 runs in the bottom of the 9th to beat the Mets, reliever Aaron Barrett pitching for the first time in 4 years after numerous injuries, and Trey Turner hitting a grand slam as the Nationals clinched a spot in the wild card game. In the wildcard game, the Nationals would face off with the Brewers, a team coming off a red-hot September to secure the second wildcard. In a close game in which the Brewers had a 3-1 lead heading into the 8th, the Nationals would rally thanks to a bases-loaded base hit from Juan Soto, in which Trent Grisham let the ball get by him, allowing all 3 runners to score to give the Nationals a 4-3 win and eventually a date with the Dodgers in the first round. In the division round, we would see a thrilling 5-game series, with the biggest moment coming in extra innings of Game 5. After Anthony Rendon and Juan Soto went back-to-back off Clayton Kershaw to tie the game in the 8th, Howie Kendrick would go on to hit a grand slam in the 10th to give the Nationals a 7-3 lead and an eventual series win for the Nationals. They would then move on to the championship series against the Cardinals, with the pitching only giving up 6 runs the entire series and eventual series MVP Howie Kendrick continuing to swing a hot bat. They would win the series convincingly with a 4-game sweep. The Nationals would then move on to the World Series to face the Astros, a team with the 6th best offense of all time according to Fangraphs, and a team that had just won the World Series 2 years prior. Let's just not talk about the trash cans here, shall we? In the World Series, we were treated to a classic. In a back-and-forth series, we would see Juan Soto, Anthony Rendon, and Adam Eaton carry the offense, with the big 3 Max Scherzer, eventual World Series MVP Steven Strasburg, and Patrick Corbin carrying the pitching staff. For the Astros, their offense as a whole were tough to keep down, and starters Justin Verlander, Garrett Cole, and Zach Greinke held their own on the mound. Eventually, we would see a Game 7 to decide the champion. With a Yuli Gurriel home run, a Carlos Correa RBI base hit, and solid pitching from Greinke, the Astros went into the 7th with a 2-0 lead and an 80% chance to win, according to Baseball Reference. But just like in the regular season, the Nationals would make a ferocious comeback. They would score 6 runs from the 7th inning on, thanks to homers from Anthony Rendon and Howie Kendrick, and base hits from Juan Soto and Adam Eaton. In the end, Daniel Hudson, who was acquired at the trade deadline, would strike out Michael Brantley, and the Nationals were your World Series champions. So that's all I have on the 2019 Washington Nationals. Tell me your thoughts down below, and be sure to look out for the next
classic team rewind. But that's all I have for right now. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.